you all for being here at 6 o'clock. We'll now call our meeting to order. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Some of our aldermen are here present. At this time, I'd like to recognize Pastor Brooks, who will lead us in prayer, and Mr. Powell, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
May we all bow. Gracious Heavenly Father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Gracious Father, we come this evening with our head bowed and hearts humble. First, we want to say thank you for all that many blessings. We thank you for your grace, and we thank you for mercy. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be able to come together as a community once again to conduct the business of this city and also to recognize those that are important to us here in this town in which we live. We pray blessing upon this board, along with this mayor, and all the city officials that makes a difference here. We pray for each of these young people, this football team, the band, and all those that make up the school system, that they will be productive citizens in this town in which we live. Not only that, Father, we want to thank you for recognizing one of your own children that you're blessed to be 100 years old, and that's Mother Benny. We just thank you for her presence here and all others that you have blessed to see 100 and above. Father, we just thank you, and we just pray that we all be loving citizens of Gluckstadt, Mississippi, showing love towards one another as we grow together as one big family. We ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Brooks. Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, at this time, I'd like to start with item 3E, which is a resolution recognizing Ms. Sarah Bell Hart Bennett on celebrating her 100th birthday. Ms. Bennett, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm 57 and my ears probably aren't good as yours. But I was gonna come down there now, but I think I'll stay here so I can read some of this, okay? So we have a resolution before the board. I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but I am gonna hit the important parts. This resolution recognizes that Miss Bennett was born on November 2nd, 1924 in Madison County and has resided in Madison County her entire life. She is the eldest of her mother's children. Her siblings included Lee, Ernest, Nudie, Clark, Tyler, DeSalle, Nanny Clark, Bessie Lee, Queen Clark Garner. Ms. Bennett attended Auburndale School, a one-room schoolhouse, until she was in the 8th grade. She then attended the Madison County Training School, located in an area of Madison called Tin Top, until the 11th grade. I got it right so far? You walk 4 miles every day to school from your home on Stribling Road. You guys hear that? After school and before school, you would work in the field helping your parents farm. While farming with your parents, you met Jessie Bennett and her stepdad, Harry Tyler, told you that Jessie would make her a good husband. Were they right?
That's right.
Mrs. Bennett and Jessie were married in October of 1943, and they were sharecroppers until they purchased their own land in the 1940s.
That's exactly right.
And this is the property that you still own and live on today.
That's right.
You young folks understand what sharecropping is? That ain't an easy way to make a living, is
All
it?
right.
Share.
Mr. and Mrs. Bennett had 10 children,
That's right.
and you instilled the importance of God and education in them and their family. And you made sure that all of them graduated from high school and went on to attend college.
That's right.
You had 18 grandchildren, 21 great-grandchildren, and one great-great-grandchild. Ms. Bennett wanted her children to have the best and equal education opportunities as any other child. She was an integral part of the integration of Madison schools. In order to make that possible, you registered your driveway as a designated Madison County school bus stop, which remains in effect to this day. You also have taken pride in participating in the democratic process by exercising your right to vote. You have faithfully voted in every election since the Civil Rights Act of 1964 allowed African Americans to do so. Ms. Bennett has always made God a priority in her life. She has stated church was her focus and my all in all. She was a member of Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church in Gluckstadt until she joined Liberal Trinity Church of God in Christ in Jackson in 1983 and has been a member there for 41 years. She's been a dedicated mother of the church and serves as the president of Prayer and Bible Band and has done so for 24 years. Most important aspect she has learned in life is to put God first in everything and do right. Ask God to direct your path, treat people with love and kindness. When asked about the biggest change she has seen in her life, she responded with a song I won't ask you to sing. Since Jesus came into my life, since Jesus came into my heart, what a wonderful change in my heart. Hallelujah. Pastor Brooks knows. So this resolution recognizes Sarah Bell Hart Bennett on celebrating her 100th birthday and in commemoration of her many achievements. At this time, I ask for a motion to adopt and approve this resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Bates made the motion. Is there a second? Mr. Slay seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you.
This is the resolution that'll be presented to you, okay? I'm gonna have our city clerk complete it for you, okay? She doesn't have to stand up. She don't want to. We were up here, she can do it. We do. You want to, y'all get in here. Yeah. Will you complete this?
Mayor, we'd like to sing happy birthday.
Y'all want me?
Don't stop this.
Got some people coming. Okay, Randall, y'all get in.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Let the little man get up front. Okay, great.
What are we looking first?
All right, let's sing happy birthday, everyone. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mother Bennett. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
I just thank each one of you all for singing
just being here.
All right, guys. All right.
God bless you.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Give him the praise.
Okay. Go, sir. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all. God bless
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Football team. All right, everybody, at this time, we'll move to item number 3D. Mr. Powell?
Thank you, sir. So this is a resolution, honoring our ninth grade football team. So for me personally, ninth grade was last year I played football. I went to a small private school in Louisiana. My ninth grade year, I broke my wrist playing football, moved to Clinton, Mississippi, 10th grade. I walked into the meet and greet to see about playing in 10th grade and 11th grade, 12th grade. And I looked at all the players in there and I was like, no, days of playing football are done. They were big old boys like you guys. We didn't have them that size in Louisiana. So anyway, football meant a lot to me. I enjoyed it. Some of y'all are going to go further and continue to play. Some of y'all may not play anymore. But I think we're in pretty good hands with y'all moving on up to the high school and looking forward to see what you guys do with the high school. So whereas the Germantown High School ninth grade football team recently competed against the Brandon High School ninth grade football team in the Little Six Championship, and whereas the Germantown High School ninth grade football team were victorious over Brandon High School ninth grade football team with a final score of 49-28, and whereas the Germantown High School ninth grade football team are the first team in school history to win the Little Six Championship, be it hereby resolved by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Gluckstadt as follows. The City of Gluckstadt wishes to recognize and congratulate the Germantown High School ninth grade football team on winning the 2024 Little Six Championship. So on behalf of myself, the mayor, and the citizens, congratulations and great job. So
Thank you.
yep, I'm gonna get you out. Come on.
All right, let me do this for the record. I'll take Mr. Powell as having made a motion. Is there a second for adoption of this resolution?
Second.
Mr. Slade seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, guys.
Yeah, come on up here.
I don't know who all these guys back here. Congratulations. 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 You lying. You're all right. Offense or defense? Both sides. You're gonna have big old guys. You're a hand. Linebacker. Linebacker.
You guys all.
Sit down, double line, double line.
Not often, first one. So.
Like Rachel, come on this way.
Appreciate it.
Get hands.
Congratulations. Really awesome. Good handshake. Good handshake.
Yeah, come on. Y'all squeeze in.
Just walk with somebody.
There you go.
Ready, y'all? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right, Alderman Powell, we will go and handle item 3C next.
Yes, sir, I'd like to invite the band in.
Band members?
You must have a seat or just.
Y'all come on over. Don't know how many y'all there are.
Don't you play us home?
Well, I guess before I get started on this part, we had the opportunity, I guess about a month ago, y'all's performance for everybody at the high school. So my wife and I got to come up here and watch it, everything, and it was phenomenal. So y'all did an awesome job. So I can definitely see why y'all won all the awards that y'all won. It's very impressive. I served a little time in the band back in the day in Louisiana as well, and there's a lot of effort, a lot of work that goes into it, from the coordination to just playing instruments and then doing all the dance. Anyway, you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
So I've got a resolution here from the mayor and the board of Fluxat. Whereas the Germantown High School Band is a 166-member competitive 4-time state championship performing ensemble. The Germantown High School Band also won first place in the 5A state championship of both 2013 and 17, and again in 2022 at the 6A state championship. Germantown High School was the 7A state runner-up in 2023. Germantown High School Marching Band recently competed at the 2024 State Marching Band Championship against 14 other high schools from across the state. And the Germantown High School Marching Band's 2024 program is entitled its Wild Card and features the music of some different folks. I know all these people. But under the direction of Justin Harbison, Allison Taylor, Darius Valentine, Brian Saul, Josh Kraut, Jim Peacock, Terry Swindle, Ethan Marcus, and the Germantown School Marching Band won the 2024 State Marching Band Championship. So whereas the 2024 State Championship, the Germantown High School Marching Band was also awarded first place in color guard, general effect, music performance, and visual performance, and third place in percussion. And in addition to the awards of the 2024 State Championships, the Germantown High School Marching Band has received numerous awards during the 2024 season, including Conquistador Classic Grand Champion, finalists, and fourth place overall in the Bands of America, Memphis Regional, all superior ratings at state evaluations, Governor's Cup winner of the Pearl Invitational, 15th place out of 70 bands at the Bands of America, St. Louis Super Regional. So pretty impressive resume that you guys have there. So once again, I think we're in pretty good hands when it comes to the band with Germantown as well. So wherefore, hereby resolved by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Gluckstadt, we wish to recognize and congratulate the Germantown High School Marching Band on winning the 2024 State Marching Band Championship and being named 7A State Champions and all of their many accomplishments and awards during the 2024 season.
All right, at this time, I will take that Mr. Powell, having made a motion for adoption of this resolution, recognizing the Germantown High School Band as state champions. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Bates seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Y'all come on.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Everybody? All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Great job, guys.
Thank y'all. That's the plan.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
All right, Chief Hale,
Yes.
3A.
Yes, we want to swear in our newest officer, Sergeant Jamal White. He has been with us since December the 5th and has already made 4 or 5 arrests. He's actually made an arrest today on somebody who was wanted out of Louisiana for aggravated rape and possession of a controlled substance. So since his feet, since his feet is hit the ground, he's not running. So.
All right. All right, you prepared to take the oath? Yes, sir. If you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jamal Watkins.
I, Jamal Watkins,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support the Constitution
that I will faithfully support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
Gluckstadt City ordinances,
plus that city ordinance,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified
that I am not disqualified
from holding the position of police officer
over the position of police officer
for the city of Gluckstadt,
for the city of Gluckstadt,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office upon which I am about to enter,
on the office that I'm about to enter.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we get a picture? What are we talking?
Sorry, I was right.
We'll edit it tomorrow.
1, 2,
What? Wow.
Yeah.
He got a plan on his head.
1, 2,
Oh,
3.
he's got glasses.
1, 2,
I feel so
Chief
safe.
Say, you looking in?
3. He does not.
Congratulations, sir. Okay, thank you.
You want to work?
Ms. Kristen Baker.
Next, we have, who we hired dispatch supervisor. She has also hit the ground. Actually, she, I would say, took the bull by the horns, and she's been, getting dispatch set up the way she wants. Carrie's been assisting her. They've got, it's going great. She's, working on the policies and procedures. She says that she'll be through with them tomorrow. So she hasn't made any arrests since she's been here, but she's been doing her dispatch thing.
All right, great. All right, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kristen Baker,
I, Kristen Baker,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support
that I will faithfully support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and the policies and mission of the Gluckstadt Police Department,
and the policies and mission of the Gluckstadt Police Department,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified
that I am not disqualified
from holding the position of dispatch supervisor,
from holding the position of dispatch supervisor,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon that I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Policies tomorrow.
Ready, guys? 1, 2, 3.
Having fun, right, boss? See you.
Very nice. Congrats, Kristen.
Congratulations. All right, item 3F is just an FYI reminder that the Gluckstadt Christmas Parade is Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pray for no rain. All right, item number 4 is approval of the consent agenda as amended to include the Casio Sanford contract. For those of the city's lobbyists, I know everybody's had the opportunity to look at that contract. So with that amendment, I would ask for a motion for approval of the consent agenda as amended. Mr. Taylor made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Powell, did you second?
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, guys.
May I have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not, it's just simple. Barry. I saw in the claims a tow expense for a unit that had broken down.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you elaborate on that? And is the unit repaired, out of service?
We, was leaving the PD with it and got up to the road and the oil decided to come all out.
The oil?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, is it on the road now?
It's, I think it's still being worked on.
Which vehicle, a Durango or Tahoe?
No, it was one of the Tahoes.
One of the Tahoes.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay. All right, thank you.
All right, item 5 Any questions about the monthly budget report or the monthly bank reconciliations? Those are items 5B and 5C. All right. I'm sorry.
There's a budget amendment.
Yes, ma'am. Get ready. Thank you. Item 5A is a resolution adopting a budget amendment that is all set forth in Ms. Kellum's memo. Ms. Kellum, do you want to add anything to this?
I do not think it's changed.
Any questions about this budget amendment? These are really primarily expenses that arose due to us moving into the new police department building. And we worked collaboratively with every department head and Ms. Kellum to try to put our heads together to figure out how to, the number was about $37,000, to come up with a way to meet this shortfall. And you can see from the budget amendment, Ms. Kellum's memo, that the money was put in from all sorts of different departments and all sorts of different areas to try to make up the $37,000 shortfall. So absent questions, I would ask for a motion for the adoption of this resolution amending the budget.
I move.
Mr. Slade made a motion. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Taylor seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, and thanks everybody for working on that to close that gap. All right, item number 6A. I have had several meetings with members of the Madison County Board of Supervisors in an effort to try to be aligned when we go before the legislature after the first of the year, to make some priority requests of them for funding. One of the things that is very important to the county and is also very important to this city is the widening of Weisenberger Road. And we want to go to the legislature with that request. The numbers that I have been getting and what this will cost will shock you, but they are at least $10 million to do this work. And so money from the legislature, money from the county are both very important. So I sat down with Mr. Steen, President of the Board of Supervisors, with the engineers and contractors. We all agreed that what we wanted to do was have this unified front, unified act or ask going to the legislature, asking them to support the funding of the widening of Weisenberger Road. Hence this resolution that I'm asking you guys and ladies to adopt. Are there any questions? All right, is there then a motion for approval of this resolution in support of widening Weisenberger Road? Motion. Mr. Taylor made the motion. There a second?
Second.
Mr. Powell seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. It's always better if we go to those folks down at the Capitol and united instead of divided, because I think it carries more weight when we do that. Okay, item 6B has to do with a resolution relative to extending alcohol sale hours. Mr. Hall?
This resolution was kind of requested by a few business owners here locally. Currently, ABC statewide law dictates when alcohol sales can occur on premises for off-premises use and package stores. This only affects on-premises use, such as, say, a restaurant serving alcohol for their patrons. Currently, it is 10 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Saturday. We've had some requests. One request in specific from a local business was to be able to serve mimosas with their brunch and breakfast. They open at 7 a.m. So that would push that forward. That's where the 7 a.m. beginning time came from. The other one was a local business, stays open till midnight currently when they have to stop serving. They have patrons leaving that actually say, no, we're going to another place because they can serve till 2 o'clock. So it was requested that y'all would consider extending the hours till 2 o'clock. So that way they can retain those customers and keep them here local. This resolution would not affect package stores. So those stores are still regulated by ABC set hours. This would only affect on-premises sales. It is 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Sunday would remain 10 a.m. to midnight.
All right, Mr. Hall, thank you for that explanation. Are there any questions about this proposed resolution or any comments?
What are Madison's hours for this?
Currently, the city of Madison is 10 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Sunday. The county does have specific areas set aside for 10 a.m. to 3 a.m., Monday through Sunday.
That serve alcohol to a customer until midnight?
On premises, correct. This is not designed for you to buy, say, a 6-pack and leave to go home with it. It's to be consumed on premises.
Nothing good happens after midnight. I have a hard time with liquor sales after midnight. I mean, come on.
Does the chief have an opinion?
I was afraid we I would rather not have an opinion, but I will say this. I look at it from both sides. You know, we have great businesses here and we love them and we don't want them to leave and we don't ever want them to lose money. So on one side, you look at it, it's a way for them to, you know, get more people up here and make more money. Downside, yes, you know, there may be more people out there drinking at a later in the morning time, but right now, as it stands, we're not having a real big issue with that as it is. So.
How many people would actually be drinking before 10 o'clock in the morning? That's, you know, that's the problem.
Well, can I speak on that?
Well, we thought you were drinking.
No, I'd like to speak if I could.
Well, I'll say this, and then, y'all know I came from another city before I came here. Yes, I've seen people drinking at 7 and 8 in the morning.
It's like mimosas, like
Sure.
lunch.
Yeah.
I will say, City of Jackson is actually, let me make sure I get this correct. City of Jackson is 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Sunday. 6 a.m. They start early.
24 hours a day.
You don't work in the hospital and you.
Sir, your name?
Yes, sir. My name is AJ Bowman. I'm the owner and manager of Twisted Turnip. We are one of the restaurants that would be asking to serve mimosas and things like that early. We don't have a huge population of people that are hammering down the doors, especially during the week to try and have drinks, but especially during the weekends, Saturday, Sunday brunches are very, very popular. We have a full bar, and it's very common to have people that come in from whether that's a late Amazon shift or hunting or something and then wanting a mimosa in the morning. So that's why we talked with William about bringing this here to actually start, you know, a little bit earlier. We close at 9 o'clock. So, you know, going late is Mr. Cox's thing, but that's where we stand. And I would like to see, you know, Sunday actually be 7 a.m. instead of 10 a.m. Specifically for those same reasons. But to answer your question, we do have a lot of customers that do that. It's Officer Hale will tell you we don't have a huge bar crowd, but it's something that we feel will bring business to this area. Another Broken Egg and Renaissance serves at 7. They have a resort status that allows them to do that. Same thing in Flowwood, the city. They have another Broken Egg, other restaurants, and they have a status where they serve from 7 a.m. until midnight every day during the week. So I think it would bring other businesses to our area. Not just another place like me, but another brunch place or a late night bar place. So considering other businesses coming to the area, that's what I'd like to say. But thank you for considering at least making the motion to expand those hours and, you know, support people like myself.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Bowman?
Yeah, I have a question. What percentage, if you could just throw a number out there, and I know this is probably unexpected, would you say in a month's time on a Sunday morning, you have a guest that's not already a customer that may have expressed interest in being able to have that beverage?
I mean, I would say 4 or 5 people on a Sunday, same thing on Saturday. 4 or
Each
5.
Sunday
Yeah, sure.
that are already
That
customers?
are people here that want to come here, and they'll leave to go to another Broken Egg to have that drink early. Or they'll go to Cracker Barrel, serves alcohol at 7 a.m., believe it or not, yes it is. So it's things that I think, it's not, look, 5% of our business is alcohol sales. We're not a huge bar or restaurant, but it adds to the experience of brunch and having mimosas, and, we put a lot of time and effort into that. So I think it would be beneficial to the entire community to open that, so when other businesses come here, they can say, look, Buckstack's ready to play, Cracker Barrel, they know that the law is already in place, that they can start selling. So,
All right, thank you, sir.
yes, sir, thank you.
Question, what you're actually asking is to be able to sell on Sunday from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., right?
Well, currently, yes, sir, we can serve from 10, right now it's 10. We have to follow the rules of Madison County because there is nothing established. So currently, yes, we have to wait until 10 a.m. and then cannot serve until, or that gets it stopped at midnight.
But
So
you're
with the
asking,
resolution you're asking, it would be, I'd like to revise that for our businesses, and then going forward, that it would be at 7. That's really when we had people asking, not, in the middle of the night. So we're a different concept than Mr. Cox.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you want to speak?
Yes, sir.
Tell me your name.
Alan Cox. I own Timber Tavern, Axler one here in Gluckstadt. So really to me, right, so we're not early morning, so we don't compete with AJ in any way, right? So we're more of a late night. It's Thursday, really Wednesday through Saturday, but it's the Friday, Saturday night. And I see it every Friday, Saturday night, right? I see people looking at their watch going, what's 11:40, it's 11:45. Do we want to go home or are we going somewhere else? And I always hear, we're going to the res, we're going to this place, we're going to that place, right? So it's money, it's tax dollars that's leaving Gluckstadt, right? It's money that's leaving businesses, local owned business that are within the city. And I do think, I agree with AJ, right? It would be, something for Gluckstadt to be able to pull more businesses in, saying we have this resort status, you're able to do this, you're not buying into, this not being able to sell liquor on Sunday, not, and just extending those hours, right? And really that's what I'm asking from our business. I mean, it is, I feel like we're losing, probably 30% of our business is losing from that 12 to 2 a.m. Right? Just because that's what we do, right? It's actually when we're a bar, right? So we're not the place you're gonna bring your family to sit down and eat dinner at, right? We're the place you're gonna come and you eat some bar food, you can watch football, basketball, sports, and you're gonna hang out, throw some axes, throw some darts, use pool, and just hang out and drink some drinks. So, really that's what I'm asking is if we'll extend it to 2 a.m. and give us a chance to be able to compete with the Revs and compete with Jackson and all these places that they can drive, 20 miles south of here and hang out at.
Any questions or comments of Mr. Cox?
Have you asked your employees if they want to stay to 2 a.m.?
Yeah, so all of our employees are on board, right? I wouldn't do something that I think would cripple us. So all of our employees are on board for that. And we're small, right? We're 10 employees, so it's not like it's a large place, but yeah, everybody's on board for that.
And if you feel comfortable sharing, how much of your percentage of sales since you started selling alcohol is that number?
Oh, so we're probably 75% alcohol sales, right? So we push to make sure we hit the 25% food sales, which is required by ABC in the state of Mississippi, right? But other than that, most of our sales is between alcohol and Axel.
Okay, since you've been open, have you had any occurrences where you needed law enforcement to clear?
I have, well, not to clear the building, but we've had to call the police, right? So a couple times, but all of those times have been way before midnight, right? So the last incident we had happened around 9:30 at night, that we called the police. I had one instance where I called the police right at closing time, and it was trying to get someone out of the building, that was intoxicated. So
the last call would be at 2 a.m. or it'd be like at 1:30?
Usually we do last call about 15 to 20 minutes before we can stop serving, right? Just give everybody a chance to come and get their last drink. So if we sell alcohol until so today we sell to midnight, right? So midnight means we're gonna close the building before 1 o'clock. Normally it's, you got some people straggling, getting out 12:30, 12:40, that time.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Cox, while I got you here, if I get out of here early enough, I'm gonna have a glass of red wine when I get home. So know where I'm coming from, okay? And I appreciate you being here. I don't know how the board's gonna vote, but before I ask them to vote, I wanna ask you one favor.
Okay.
I have heard several complaints about, I think primarily kids hanging out in your parking lot.
Mhm.
And causing a fair amount of trouble, at least from the perspective of those that are complaining about it.
Okay.
I've asked Chief Hale to sort of step up his game about making sure people aren't loitering out there in that parking lot and carrying on. Would you double your efforts on that front and try to control what's going on out there as well? That would be a great help to your neighbors in the area there.
Yeah, so we do, just to an extent, right? So we don't own the property, right? So we lease the property from ETH, properties. So we're a little bit limited over what we can do when you start talking about the parking lot, right? So I always, like, I work Friday and Saturday nights, so I make sure that every hour I walk through the parking lot just to make sure there's not anything going on that shouldn't be going on, right? But at the end of the day, it's hard for me to police all of the parking lot. Just to the point of, it's a public parking lot, people park in front of, our next door neighbors, and I don't know if they're with them or what's going on. So, but I do try to make sure the kids are not, because we try to welcome the kids like Wednesday and Thursday and before 7 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, right? We welcome the kids to come in, give them a place to hang out, give them a place to shoot pool, drink some pop, and do that type of stuff. And, we tried, when we first opened, we tried to be, kid friendly, 18 and up, all night Friday and Saturday night. It was just too much for me to control.
What's happening though is that those kids who are no longer being allowed in your business are going out and loitering in the parking lot and drinking more than pop.
Yep.
Okay.
I agree. I pick up the bottles all the time.
So we can't have that because that's a disaster waiting to happen. And, somebody's got to do something about it. And frankly, I think you have the authority to tell those kids not to loiter in the parking lot and serving your business. But I'm gonna ask you to do that as a favor to me.
Okay.
And I'm gonna, of course, continue to ask Chief Hale to send our guys out there to make sure that doesn't happen, because we don't need, if what Mr. Slay says is true, nothing good happens after midnight. We're darn sure nothing good happens after midnight with a bunch of kids loitering in the parking lot.
True.
So if you do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Okay? All right, so we have a proposed resolution before the board. As published, it will allow alcohol sales from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to midnight. Is there a motion for the adoption of that resolution as published, or other motions? Anybody else want to make additional motions?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion for the change. I'd like to see the Sunday go from 7 a.m. to 12 midnight.
So you want to change it from 10 a.m. to midnight to 7 a.m. to midnight?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, with that proposed change, I'll take Mr. Powell as having made that motion.
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Taylor seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, that motion as adopted carries 4-1. Ms. Kellum, you have the amendment?
I'm an aye.
Okay.
Can I make I need to ask the legal a question.
Sure.
And since we dealt with that matter, Mr. Scanlon, is it, to continue what the mayor requested of the owner of this particular business regarding a loitering? This came up with Fleetway over the years and what have you, with kids hanging out between the barrier there at the curb towards Sonic. Is it accurate that the owner of the property can put up no loitering and stuff, and that's the mechanism that law enforcement can also have on private property? or live.
Well, there's a number of enforcement actions under state law for, I mean, you've got any kind of public disturbance. Obviously, a private property owner can put up a no trespassing sign. I do agree with the mayor that a tenant of a building, even if it doesn't own it, has got the right to use the parking lot and exclude people from it. And so, I think that somebody who runs a business, even if they're not the property owner, could also go out there and say, be on your way. And then, of course, there's a lot of state law actions for, what the police department can do. But, and then if y'all, I mean, I'm sure there's some other ordinances that y'all could adopt as well, but I think they have plenty of both private property owner or tenant remedies where they can ask people to leave their properties. And I think, I don't know, the chief can tell me if he disagrees. I think he's probably got mechanisms he can enforce under state law.
So the answer is yes, the owner of parcel, as you were expressing, you rent, you lease, could put signage out there.
Sure.
Okay, so that's one option for you to discuss with them.
I'll tell you, I met with the man who owns the Fleetway station. He was very concerned about
Mr. Morris.
this same group of children loitering on his property, and they refused to leave when he asked them to leave. And they even got a little bit mouthy with some of our officers. And he came in here, we worked out a plan where his night manager and security guard, who was frankly afraid of the kids, would take appropriate action. And Chief Hale, since our meeting we've had no further problem at the Fleetway, have we?
No, sir. I actually rode through there Saturday. That's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
The security guards were standing out there. They look bored, which is good.
Good. Okay. All right, well, good, and I appreciate that, Chief. All right, item 7A. Is there anyone here, Ms. Clark, or someone for Mrs. Clark here from the Arrington subdivision?
Yes. Good evening. Tim Clark, representing Arrington subdivision. Mary's a little under the weather. Okay. So, from the last meeting, we had talked about the Arrington Dam improvements mandated by MDEQ. So we've got the drawings from the engineers and have got that out on the street, trying to get pricing on that. And, there's several facets of that. Got to clean the dam off. Got to put additional earthwork on there because they want to raise the elevation, probably an average of 1.5 feet, to impound more water. Put a concrete overflow structure in, armor the front of the dam facing the water with riprap kind of thing. So we had asked the city if they could contribute a little bit to the project because this is kind of a portion of flood control for Bear Creek running down. And it felt like the biggest factor that would be a benefit to the city is the additional earthwork to raise the level, impounding more water, slowing that down, letting it out slowly into Bear Creek, right? So what we're asking the city for is the feedback I'm getting so far. I've sent it out to 7 contractors. Feedback I'm getting back so far is the additional earthwork to raise that dam about 1.5 feet on average across there. It's 3,600 cubic yards import. And the pricing I'm getting, I got another one just lower than this while I was in the meeting here. $21.75 a cubic yard. That's a total of $78,300. So we're asking if the city could contribute that or a portion thereof towards that. And it would be a benefit on flood control for the city to impound additional water in the lake during these high volume rain events.
So, Mr. Clark, I probably should have brought my notes and things from our last meeting. But help me remember the overall project cost.
The overall project cost
It's $540, but we recently just received an additional bid where the prices did increase to $564,000.
Okay, so $564,000.
Yes.
And you guys had some grants you obtained.
We did.
How much were the grants?
They were gonna cover the 540 with a 15% from the neighborhood.
15% match.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so you were gonna have grants of $540,000,
Yes, sir.
but the 540 was 85% grant, 15% match?
That's right.
Yeah, that was a combination of federal grant and
And state grant.
Okay. So I'm gonna do some quick math.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
$84,600. Of the 564,000.
So you're saying of the 540, I wanna know what 15% of that is.
Yeah, I think
It's
the original
81.
number off the 540 was like 81,000.
81, that's what I had written down. So that's what I thought. So as of the last meeting, the match that you guys were gonna be required to come up with was 81,000.
Correct, sir.
And that would have left you, if you did come up with all of that, plus the grants, based upon the $564,000 number, you're $24,000 short.
Correct.
That's right. Does our math now, John? Am I right on that? Okay, so the homeowners association would come up with 81,000. That would leave you $24,000 short. And what you're asking the city to do is come up with 78,300, which would essentially come pretty close to negating the 81,000. That's what you guys are.
Pretty close, yeah. And that number could vary. Like I said, I've got multiple people looking at it.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I understood all the numbers. Any questions or comments?
Well, this could be a not to exceed.
Is it 105,000 total is what the cost is going to be that isn't being funded by the grant?
No, 540,000.
No, that's.
He's
covers 85%
the
of
81 plus the difference. That
81
yeah.
plus the 24, it's 105 total.
If it goes to 560, yeah.
Yep, the 560.
Correct.
Okay, and you're asking the city to provide how much of that?
78,300. That's just an estimate of what the dirt costs, right? That's all that is. That's just the cost of the dirt to raise the dam to impound the water.
Yeah, how many houses are in this subdivision?
22.
And do you guys have a cost list for cleaning out the leak? Because I mean, it's grown up.
Clean that? No, we don't have that yet. That won't be part of the grant.
So that's just something you guys are.
That's something that the neighborhood's gonna be responsible for.
There's no idea of what future costs would be. Nobody's thrown that number around.
Future?
Well, future cleaning out, that's what Mr. Powell was asking.
Well, it's just
Maintain.
the one cleaning out, just get the lake back. Because right now it's overgrown.
Does it stay, the dam serves its purpose?
That's right.
No, but once the water's back impounded in there, everything's back to like it used to be. No growth in there.
So the bottom line is, you guys are $105,000 short. And your ask to the city is $78,300. I think that my concern at the last meeting was whether or not we can legally do this or not. And based upon the report from Mr. McMaster and also the city's engineer, Mr. Ingalls, has convinced me at least that there is a legitimate public need. This would certainly be to the benefit of the city as flood control project. So I'm not concerned legally about whether or not the city can appropriate any money for this. Ultimately, the question then, guys, is whether we want to do it, whether you guys want to do it, and if so, to what amount. So any discussion about that question?
And guys, just jump in on the legality
Yes,
part. You know, whenever you're conducting work on private property for this, you just have to make a finding in your minutes that it does benefit the public at large and doesn't inure to the benefit of a single landowner. So if you've got the finding to make that upon something one of your engineers has told you, then I'll get together with Ms. Keller if you vote to approve this kind of money on private property, because otherwise.
Yeah, and there are records to sort of memorialize that in the agenda materials, not the least of which is the report from Mr. McMaster of November 20th, 2024, that does indicate that this dam provides flood control to the city of Gluckstadt. So it would benefit, I believe, the community as a whole, not just a single or the 20 landowners in the community. So, but thank you for that. Any other questions or ideas, thoughts, Mr.
I
Powell?
mean, I would like to see us move forward with it. I guess my question would be, we've just adopted a budget, we've done some budget revisions and everything. So I guess to Mr. Butler, we have $78,300 sitting around. Are they allotted to help out with the flood control?
I can answer that for Mr. Butler.
This would require a budget amendment.
Yes, it would definitely require a budget amendment. We're gonna have to find 78,000 or however much, whether it be $1 or $78,000, we're gonna have to find the money somewhere in the budget to move to cover that expenditure.
And I was thinking about a 50-50 split. You know, the subdivision coming up with half and the city coming up with half. And I think that's reasonable. We've had to do something similar to the lake I live on. I live on a 45-acre lake. We had to come up with $1,500 15 years ago for the same problem y'all are dealing with. We got no cost share. We had to fund it 100% ourselves. But, you know, if you're talking about 105, if y'all came up with half, you're talking about 20-some hundred per lot. And then maybe the city funding the other half.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts about that? All right, so, before the board is a request to appropriate some money to assist with this Arrington Lake Dam project. I'll open the floor for a motion.
I move we agree to cost share on the 105,000, 50%. And the city's share could not exceed 52.5.
Slay made a motion for a 50-50 cost sharing not to exceed $52,500. Is there a second?
I'll second
Ms. Williams, seconded.
with a request to, amend, that we get a monthly report from the neighborhood, whether it's just a memo form to the city, just out of courtesy while the process is being performed. Just an update.
Okay, I understand. My motion, I want everybody to be clear, is to match 50% of what isn't paid. If it comes in at a lower amount, 90,000, whatever, we're going to match 50% of what your 22 homeowners match.
Sure.
Okay.
Understand.
We're putting a cap at 52.5.
Correct. Not to exceed.
And so what you guys will do a little bit along the line of what Ms. Williams is saying, you know, you're gonna have to submit some sort of documentation to substantiate what the neighborhood homeowners have paid, because that's what we will utilize as our basis to match those funds. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
certainly, providing us with some monthly updates is good, and we ask you to do that, but before the city is able to come up with its matching share, you'll have to submit that documentation to us.
Gotcha.
Okay? All right, so Mr. Slay made a motion, Ms. Williams seconded.
May I
Any
ask a
other
question?
discussion about that?
Well, yes, who has a question?
May I ask a question for clarity?
Yes, ma'am, your name?
I'm Katrina Myrick.
Yes, ma'am.
Katrina Myrick. So as a homeowner, so you're asking for us to give you additional funds that we're going to pay, show that, or additional funds we have already paid? I'm just trying to get clarity for the report.
Yes, ma'am. What I understand is, as it is today, based upon the numbers that have been provided, it's been represented that you're $105,000 short of what is necessary to finish the project.
Correct.
And the motion that is before the board now, that has been made and seconded, is for the city to pay half of up to $105,000.
Correct.
And so if the number is 105,000 and the Lake Arrington homeowners pay 52.5, the city will match that 52.5. This is new money.
Correct, which, and that's what I'm saying, you want us to show documentation.
Yes, ma'am.
before- Okay,
Yes,
I'm just trying to be clear.
yes, ma'am.
And I would say it doesn't have to have your members' names, just some totals, and
Sure.
I'm not saying a copy of a bank statement, but anything that would show legitimate entry for accountability.
Yeah, gotcha.
We've got to turn in all that documentation.
Right.
For the grant.
Right,
That's right.
yeah.
Funding.
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Mr. Clark, you sent Mrs. Clark over here to do the dirty work. You owe her something.
I do.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
She was laying on the couch with a headache when I left. So I have to go babysit.
Tell her why it called me.
Tell her-
Like cough syrup.
Tell her she did a good job, because I was very skeptical when she first came.
I will. Thanks.
All right, item 7B, approval of text amendments to the zoning ordinance. It is my understanding, that the proposed ordinance has been amended. And it has been amended to remove gas stations from industrial,
Just to leave it as C2.
Strike it.
leave it at
Strike
C2.
it. That's our C2 at 1,000. And Mr. Giddy has an updated.
And I have a copy that's already made that change just in case that motion does pass. Hopefully the amendments are introduced to writing.
All right, does everybody understand that proposed change? Any discussion on this proposed ordinance or the text amendments to the zoning ordinance? If not, is there a motion to adopt these text amendments?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Bates made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams seconded. All in favor? Any opposed?
No.
Go.
We have 3-2 with Mr. Taylor, Mr. Slade opposed. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, 7C, discussion of Freeport and industrial exemptions. Legal update.
So I have researched this according to this conversation that I had with Mr. Slay. So what I have found is that the city cannot revoke the exemption that's already been granted. That would have to come from the tax collector if they fail to do their proper reporting. However, I have found where the city can make somebody that's been granted an application come in and reapply to renew their application. So they'd have to submit a new application and provide us with all the same details. Well, I guess new details that they didn't provide us the first time, since the tax collector just sent out the information. But we can send them a letter stating that they have to renew or come in to renew their exemption that they've already been granted. But as far as being able to just revoke it, city does not have that authority.
So if they have been granted a 5-year exemption, are you saying we can ask them to come in and submit an application before the end of that 5 years?
I don't think it's before the end of that 5 years, but so the way it is for the Freeport warehouse exemptions, the board can specify how long that lasts or give it parameters. And so with these being indefinite, then the board can then say at the end of whatever tax year, they can come in and renew their application. Because one thing that they're supposed to be doing that I'm not sure the status of this, but when they're granted the application, they're supposed to be paying the city $10.
Exemption, is that what you mean to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, with the granted exemption.
There's a $10 fee for the exemption that I don't know if it's being paid, but you can renew them. They're supposed to be paying a $10 fee to the city essentially for that exemption for a year for a year time frame. And so
$10 fee every year, like every tax year. And so
Is it retroactive?
We asked them to apply and they failed to apply, then their exemption would be.
yes, if we send them a request to renew and they did not come in for their renewal, then that would be grounds for the exemption to be revoked.
but we have to send them a letter to come in to renew, or they just get that, it's just a continuation of year to year.
Okay, when we initially approved that, you know, there were other exceptions, I guess, industrial and whatever. You know, all those were, had specific expiration dates. They were all 10-year.
Correct.
Periods. The exemptions for Freeport Warehouse was open-ended. And our question was, since it was open-ended, does that mean they're entitled to this forever? So what you're saying is that we can inform them, if we choose to vote this way, that exemption ends at the end of this year?
And that they would need to come in and renew their application, and then that's when you can put additional, parameters on it at that point when they come in to renew. But as far as just being able to outright revoke it, the city does not have that.
Okay. Do we take a vote to accept it or not?
Once they renew it, you would then vote to whether or not to accept the renewal.
Once they renew the.
Once they apply.
They'd have to reapply.
Once they renew the application, they have to come back. Okay?
Well, I think, I meant to think about this a little bit, but I'm going to make a motion that we terminate, I guess, all of those Freeport warehouse exemptions at the end of this calendar year. And if they want to apply for next year, then they have to come in, I don't know what the deadline is to make application for the exemption for 2025.
So I think the motion would be to make them reapply.
Right, I don't think terminate,
reapply.
I wouldn't say terminate, because I don't think we can terminate their license that they already have, but we can make them come in to renew and reapply.
The exemption is only good through this year. If they want to renew it next year, they gotta come in and reapply.
He found a Supreme Court case on that, and I know that seems like a strange distinction, but that's the way the language of the case reads. And so that's why we're advising them to stay away from the word terminate, but require reapplication.
Would the process to reapply be similar to like our privilege licenses application?
So y'all passed an ordinance that kind of gives guidelines on, we would give them the ordinance and a copy of the application. I believe that was done maybe about a year ago. Is that right? So they would get a copy of that, I assume with their letter, like we do privilege licenses, we send the ordinance out.
Okay.
Our office did prepare an application for them to submit for a new, either whether it be a new enterprise or an industrial exemption or a Freeport warehouse exemption. There is an application that the city now has. And so we can require them to.
And the ordinance gives authority for them to make them come in and reapply, not for them.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's the statutory authority that once it's now that the city's a city that.
So the next step in the process is to notify the Freeport entities that they need to come in and apply with the city.
Correct.
Okay.
So trying to distill this down for the record here, it appears to me that what Mr. Slay has done is made a motion to require all holders of Freeport warehouse exemptions to reapply for those exemptions by the end of this year.
Is that what that's the motion?
Isn't there a deadline? No, I'm thinking about for 2025 taxes. They wouldn't need to reapply by the end of this year, would they? Isn't there like April or so of next year?
Submit a report to the county typically by like June.
Yeah, I'd say by
so that they get the tax rolls correct.
So
May
give them,
1st, maybe like by
or
May
maybe
1st.
more. I'd do it a little quicker than that. Yeah, I'd do it like more April.
April 1 is that's a good time frame.
Your motion, what's the date you want?
By April 1.
All right, so I'm gonna try to re-articulate.
Thank you.
This is every.
You're an attorney, you do it.
Freeport.
Holder of Freeport exemption.
So no industrial.
It's only 6 or 7 of them.
Right. But the others start rolling off a couple of years down the road.
So I have another question. Do we need to establish a date, a filing date that they have to have it submitted by?
That's April 1.
Okay, so not we give
What we
them.
got right here? Y'all just let me do this.
Sorry.
All right, so Mr. Slade, I know he'll correct me if I'm wrong, has made a motion to require all holders of Freeport warehouse exemptions to reapply for those exemptions by April 1st, 2025. Is that correct?
Or they lose it. And this year is all they've been for.
All right, so Mr. Slay made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Bates seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right. And so we need to get some letters out to these folks, okay?
Yes, sir.
Let me know what I need to do to help with that.
So added to the privilege license list.
Okay. All right, item 7D.
Yes, that's mine. There's a memo in your, backup. Last month y'all approved for me to transfer, the amount of $1,098,750 from our general public fund to the Calhoun Station Overlay Project account. This is just to clarify for the record, that we are essentially loaning, the Calhoun Station account $759,000 of that's going to be reimbursed. It's a due to, due from, so this is really just a technical clarification for our audit.
All right, is there a motion to approve this inter-fund loan?
Make a motion, sir.
Mr. Powell made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Bates seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? And I appreciate Mr. Goodman's comments that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in the city administration. So good work on that. And I know they're auditing us now. So we'll continue to do a good job. All right, Ms. Stogner. Item 8A.
Your first memo is the current grant search, and we're focusing on two problems. One problem we talked about before, and that is fleet. The three departments affected by needing more vehicles are Public Works, Building, Planning, Zone, and Police Department. You heard earlier about one of the cars being towed to PD. So you see where we're going with this. These are problems that we're working on. I don't have a solution for this, but I have gotten cars awarded in the past, so I'm sure I will find one soon. The second is that Public Works has been funded through CMPDD, but there's some fairly large matches there. So if we can get, and that's federal funding, so if we can get state funding or foundation funding to cover those matches, then that's going to help us out. We're in the last months of this fiscal year. So this is another search. Those are two big areas right now. You have a continuation memo that should have been on your desk for this one.
I can't find mine, but it's here somewhere. Go ahead.
It's under the handouts.
Grant search for pedestrian and cyclist safety funding. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, the foundation funding can be used, can possibly be used as a match for these Public Works grants. And what these projects focus on, and I kind of lumped them all together because they focus on the same stuff. And this is things like lighting, crosswalks, even traffic signs. If something's under construction and there's someone, we've got a large area out on the east part of the city that people bike frequently. So if we could, if we had a large construction project, we could even apply for a sign just to let everyone know what's going on. So this is foundation funding. Foundation funding doesn't normally require a match. I still don't know. This is just the beginning of this search. The two, Cressage and Rockefeller, I'm sure you both know those names. I mean, you all know those names. This is a letter of intent process. We have to send them a letter of intent, what we want, where we're located, and they decide whether or not they're going to fund anything for that in that geographical area. Some of the bigger foundations are not really a viable funding source, like Bloomberg, Bill and Melinda Gates, because they focus on, well, Bill and Melinda Gates, that foundation focuses on other continents, usually Africa. Bloomberg Foundation will fund some within the United States, not a lot, but they choose. They don't have a letter of intent process, and they choose where they're going to fund. and I doubt Gluckstadt, Mississippi is going to be on their list. A government source is the Road to Zero Community Traffic Grants, and this is specific to pedestrian and cyclist safety again. This application is due in January. It's funded through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, and we currently already have NHTSA funding. It's at the PD, it's not at Public Works. Upcoming continuing grant projects, Police Traffic Services, which is that one that's funded by NHTSA. The new application for fiscal year 26 is due in January. This will be our third year with that funding. And that's the one that pays for overtime, some regular time, and equipment. JAG award will be released in February. We asked for tablets for narcotics, and that's a no match. Neither one of those has a match. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I do. With your first memo referencing current focus, you talk about fleet, the need for vehicles, public works for building and P&Z and the police department. Obviously, we have that need. Are you telling me now that we don't have any current grants on the radar that may meet those needs?
Just MEMA, and we talked about that. This is the one that went through Homeland Security and it was declined because Homeland Security decided that even though it's on a list of acceptable things to fund, they weren't going to fund any trucks. We asked for truck and trailer. So I'm working with MEMA to fund that outside of Homeland Security. So it'll be the same application. It's just being funded by a different source.
And then in terms of the public works match funding, which is really what we've gone to the legislature to ask us to help with that. Or do you have your eyes on any additional grants that may serve as match funding for those public works projects?
There will be some more foundation stuff now that I'm getting more into it. I don't have a dollar figure.
They'll pay to widen Gluckstadt Road, for instance?
It will pay for things like anything, again, in the safety realm. If adding something to Gluckstadt Road. So if you were adding a crosswalk, you could use part of that as the match on that public works grant. Then the foundation was paying for the crosswalk.
Okay.
So it would help for things like striping the project at the intersections. It would help some of the cost of that.
And another big problem we have is lighting.
You mentioned, funding for lighting. I guess this is through one of the foundations. When you say lighting, you talking about street lights like in the subdivision?
I think, no, it would be on the roads that we're working on, so road projects. And I think some of them are gonna have to be a lamp type.
Yeah, on some of the roads, Crown Station Parkway, for instance, the poles are too far off the road. So we would have to do more of a lamp style up against the road type lighting. Not like what we did on the end where we just put on the power pole and I'll get over. We have to do more kind of the subdivision type lighting going on the road.
Well, last board meeting, didn't we approve installing like 10 lights or so in the subdivision?
In a subdivision.
Oh, was that it?
That was overhead lighting.
That was a few months ago. Yeah, we did that.
So would this grant here cover that cost? But is that the type lighting level that would be covered?
That's the type of project. It won't cover that project because that project is already commenced.
Yeah, but
And it's not within that funding zone.
We got a need for a lot of lights around here, so you get the grant money, we can sure put some more lights up.
And Chris and I are working on that to get some external funding, so we're not messing with his budget as before.
Clinton has a really nice old town area. I just hit my mind thinking about lighting. Where there's a lamp system and then there's a lamp system on that main thoroughfare going north. You get off at Clinton. Maybe we could check with them and see what their resources have been over time. 'Cause I'm sure they've been there a minute. Just a thought as a resource.
All right, any other questions of Ms. Stogner? Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you check with MDOT for grant opportunities for any kind of like vehicle for transportation?
They, most MDOT's is strictly
Yeah,
pavement, traffic, infrastructure related
Okay,
type
they
stuff.
do have some.
They do safe streets for all, stuff like that. I haven't seen one for vehicles just yet.
I have.
I
And
like
it's
that.
more like an 80-20 match, so like they would pay for 80%, and then you would pay for the 20%.
That's pretty good. Driven truck.
Mr. White's been holding down on the sound right now.
All
All right, thank you, Ms. Stogner. Let's go
I
to,
got a question. Were you going to talk about this, Mississippi Main Street?
Yes, you wanna go to that, you wanna go to?
yes, I'm
I'll
sorry.
send
I
us-
don't know.
First, 8C first?
Yeah, HC is Mississippi Main Street.
Yeah, we can do that first.
You're done with 8A and 8B, am I right?
8B is
Oh, I'm
just
sorry,
the
yeah.
health council.
Yeah.
I have a meeting on the 16th, that's next Monday, at the Jackson Heart Study. They're the ones that fund this. The next meeting in January 8th, Sheila Span will be here, a few others. I, of course, heard from Mrs. Powell. She can't make it because she's gonna be in class, but I'm gonna brief her on everything. Brandy Dousman, she responded, she'll be here. And I will also have to brief Leslie Whiting. Leslie Whiting is the one that we got her name and information from Department of Health to, be either a co-coordinator or coordinator for the Maryland Council. So there'll be more information next month on where we're going with this, but we're on, we're making progress.
Okay, item 8C, grant opportunities for Mississippi Main Street.
Okay. You have to be a member of Mississippi Main Street to get a grant. And membership for your first year is $10,000. And Alderman Slay brought this to me, was discussing a mural on a local business. I find it hard to believe that a mural is gonna be more than $10,000. Now, your membership fee does go down every year, but you still have a significant membership fee every year, and you have to be, in order to apply for a grant, you have to be a member.
Would a grant pay for something like a mural on the side of a building?
It does, it pays for things like that. A lot of this Mississippi Main Street is about historical stuff. I don't know how many historical buildings you have here, what's that?
Older church is historical, and one of the older homes, I think, could be classified historical.
So the question is whether or not we want to spend $10,000 to become a Mississippi Main Street designated community. Discussion about that? Questions?
I interpret this different than that, because your last paragraph, I mean, up at the top, you got your membership dues 1 through 4 plus, and that drops and everything. But in the very bottom paragraph, right under that shows membership dues $1,500 annually. And the way I interpret this is you can join that. And after, I think it's 2 years, I mean, it's specific in here, so I think after 1 to 2 years, then you're eligible to be part of the designated community. I assume that's when the higher dues would kick in. To join it's only $1,500 a year.
No, I don't think, I think you have to be, I think you have to pay the 10,000 from looking at the entire website. But I can put a final point on that and send y'all an email tomorrow.
Well, it says network communities may apply for designated after 1 to 2 years of building capacity, et cetera, et cetera. But I think you need to clarify that, because I interpret this different than the way you're interpreting it.
Okay.
I'm not sure you can join it and become it, be a designated community without, I guess, paying your dues first. You've got to be a member, I think, for 2 years.
If you look at the first paragraph, it says new communities must join as an associate member first, then apply to be a network community, and may be eligible to apply for designated community membership after 1 to 2 years. So probably need to get that question answered, and we'll deal with it.
Could you add also like what other benefits you get besides just the meal?
I can do that, yes, for the record.
All right, any other questions of Ms. Stocker? Ms. Stocker, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kellum, item number 9.
Yes, sir, I'll be brief on this item. Privilege license enforcement is coming up next, and that's one thing that Scott and the lawyers have been working on. Obviously, we started our audit for FY23 and FY24 on Monday. We anticipated to hopefully end by Friday, but it may go into next week, given that we're doing 2 years of history. We're about to begin end of year, 1099 W-2s, a lot of payroll updates, and making sure that everything's good with that. We do have some new employees that I've been, adding to our human resources module. So updating payroll has been a big task lately. Prepping for the election and qualifying season. So we are going to undergo elections training on Thursday this week for a full day. So we're getting ready for qualifying season to start in January. And then, of course, reviewing policies, contracts, for end of term considerations to bring before you guys for any amendments or changes. And that's about it.
Any questions of Ms. Kellum about her just general update? That's item 9A. Mr. Ball, item 9B. You want to add anything to your report on the privilege license report?
No, sir, not for that one. There's nothing really to add on.
Any questions of Mr. Mall about 9B? 9C, privilege license enforcement update.
Yes, sir. So before you all have a letter drafted by legal and reviewed by Mr. Ma and myself. This one is has a little bit more teeth than the last letter that we sent out. We anticipate that it will go to about 50 businesses. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, so I was gonna touch on. From the list that we've had, that we've sent out, we have about 50 that we just, let's just say we haven't heard from them. Some of them may at this point have moved or previously moved. They just weren't taken off the list. We'll remove them as they have. But yeah, it's around 50 or so. I did want to add, just for important, it's not particularly for this one, but because a lot of this stuff kind of deals with old businesses. But for our new businesses, we do have some mechanisms. I don't think I really touched on this, just for your information. So I know we've gotten help with William in his office whenever businesses are coming in and they're building and stuff like that. They have been really great. I think him and Curtis especially does a lot of the new ones. They're basically saying, hey, I'm giving you this, you need to get your privilege license. I can't tell you how many people have come in and said, hey, William told me or Curtis told me to come get this. So we've introduced that mechanism. Another one is Ms. Tyler from the Business Alliance. She is helping us with that as well, especially when they're reaching out for like ribbon cuttings and stuff like that. She's asking, would you have this? And sending it over to us, and that has been helpful. Some of this other stuff, we find out randomly. There was a business that had a citizen or someone come in. They were looking for a business. I was like, okay, well, I'll help you. It was an older gentleman. So I called the business for him because I was like, this isn't in Gluckstadt. I called them. They were in Gluckstadt. I was like, oh, okay. So I sent them a notice. And then they called back, and they're going to be calling. But they haven't been here that long. But just a random one. There's one of those buildings that has a bunch of suites and stuff like that, and it's just an accounting office. I mean, they could probably set up in a closet that we would have never known about it, right? So, but that's some of the stuff we've introduced. Again, this letter, really for your older businesses. At this point, we've sent out multiple notices. So we are on the front end when they're building, moving in, making modifications. We've put some, I'm trying to think of the word, mechanisms in place to get them to come in and file as well. That's been very fruitful.
As you all know, this is a moving target. So, we try to post on social media. We work with the Business Alliance. It's hard to encompass every business that shows up in Gluckstadt or, they're supposed to be coming and filing their building permits and whatnot. And that's really the only way to kind of catch them on the front end. It's most of the ones that
just assume they still, or never filed with the county, because the county doesn't keep up with it like Gluckstadt does, that we're having issues with, so.
Well, you interpret the letter after 30, once you spell the letter out after 30 days, then I guess we could basically take them to court. At that point, will we assess legal fees?
Well, I think you're able to go after them. You know, what we're hoping to do is prevent you from having to file any suits. That's the reason we're just kind of slowly working our way up the ladder of meaner and meaner letters, because it's going to be a lot of effort and a lot of time that I don't think anybody really wants to engage in for what we're talking about. Ultimately, you know, it's relatively small amounts of privilege licenses, but that is what the law says you're supposed to do. So we're just trying to work our way up, and then it's not something that's enforceable in city court. Zach has looked into that. That was something we were kind of hoping, because we thought that would be a little bit more economical way to handle it. But you know, you can at that point start filing suit against them, and hopefully that would be enough to get their attention, and you wouldn't have to go any further than filing suit. But even filing suit and serving people is a task.
And you have to remember, a lot of these privilege licenses are $20, $30.
No,
It's not even worth the legal fees.
And the
so-
minimum, the filing fee, so justice court would most likely be the most likely court that you would go to, the justice court. Even the filing fee is $85 in justice court. So
I think another side effect too is, my hourly wage, dedicated on one of these, their hourly wage, when it's adding up, it's just.
That's what we're not trying to do.
The fees that we're doing, and I will say after the last meeting letter, people started coming in.
Yeah.
They did. If you think, when we first started, there was 200 plus that we whittled it down. We really have. We've made a lot of progress on that. And
All right, is there a motion to authorize council to send this letter?
I move.
Mr. Clay made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Williams seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Fire away, guys.
Question, I'm sorry, is this gonna be mailed or hand delivered by maybe an officer or certified mail?
You can do it certified now if you want.
What is your suggestion, Mr. Stanley?
I mean, this isn't a document that's required to be served under a certain set of court rules or
Well,
anything like
I
that.
didn't mean it as a serving, but just as, hey, we're just trying to get this in the management owner's hand.
If Mr. Mall has knowledge that people are not opening their mail at these addresses, it might, I don't know that you have that. I mean, but,
I'm not going to name the business, right? I don't want to do that.
Sure.
We're streaming. There is one that could probably be hand delivered. There's a legitimate reason for that. We have to talk privately about it.
Sure.
But outside of that one, the ones that were returned, these aren't included in the 50. These are ones that were left on an old list. We have removed them. Some of them reached out, or we either tried to call the business, and they're closed, right? They just don't, they're not with us anymore.
my suggestion would be in most instances, just regular old US mail still at this point.
You guys use your discretion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do what you think is the right thing. All right, item 9D.
Yes, sir. I'm just asking for an amendment to the open meetings procedural policy to change our internal deadline from the Wednesday of board agenda prep week to the Friday prior for departments to submit agenda items. The reason being is our agenda has grown significantly with claims docket, invoices, and we're paying about 150 invoices a month in estimation. So Scott is very busy throughout the week doing claims. I'm very busy trying to put the agenda items together and check and make sure we have quotes and we have everything that we need before you guys. And oftentimes things are submitted kind of last minute. We try to, get them on to help out department heads, especially if they're in a time crunch. But it puts our department kind of behind the 8 ball and trying to, make sure you guys get an agenda.
Well, regardless of what the board says about this, in actuality, the deadline has been Friday, okay? And that is because nobody's meeting the Wednesday deadline. And things trickle in. They trickle in within the hour of us getting here before the board meeting. Agenda items are constantly trickling in. So obviously the board's gonna vote how it's gonna vote. But if it votes to move this to Friday, listen clearly and loudly to what I'm getting ready to say. Everybody in a department head, if it ain't in by Friday, it is not gonna be considered unless it is an absolute emergency. You put these guys under the darn, you put an incredible burden on them sometimes to look at 50-page ordinances and other documents that are important. They need time to review. And already if they agree to move it to Friday, they're either further limiting their ability to review these things so that they can make an educated decision on these things. So if they move it to Friday, nothing except some absolute emergency is coming in on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, or the Tuesday of the meeting. That's the way it's gotta be. We can't have deadlines if we don't follow them.
Yes, sir, and just for clarification, I'm asking for the internal deadline for the department heads to be the Friday before I send out the agenda, the Friday before the meeting. Does that make sense? So that Friday, and I will try to get, if I get it. Yeah.
It's Friday before preparation week.
I have a board prep week, the very first week of the month for a regular board meeting. That entire week, Scott and I are busy.
So this is your internal, not your agenda deadline?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm talking about your agenda deadline.
Yes.
So while we're on the topic, the agenda deadline for the board is on Friday before the meeting on Tuesday? Or it's Thursday?
Right now it's Thursday.
Right now it's Thursday
Yeah.
before the meeting on
And
Tuesday.
I tried to get it out to you this time, and
And
it's Thursday
it
at 9
never
o'clock.
makes it Thursday. It's always Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday. And look, I'm not being critical of you. This is just the facts. The board cannot be given all of this stuff, some of which is the date of the meeting, to look at. So personally, I don't think anybody cares here about your internal deadline. Of course, they're going to vote on it however they want to vote on, whatever you think is best. What's important to me, and probably what's important to them, if we got a Thursday deadline, we got to live by that Thursday deadline. If it doesn't come in by Thursday, absent an emergency, then it's going to have to wait till the next meeting. Guys, that's just the way it's got to be. All right. I mean, you're putting these guys under the gun here unfairly.
Sir, well, at the moment, a lot of things are coming in on Wednesday, and then I'm having to stay until 9 o'clock on Thursday.
Well, do you want to
Yes,
move the main deadline for you to submit the agenda
The
to Friday?
before. Yes, sir. The Friday
Okay.
before.
All right.
For the internal deadline, that gives me and Scott a week to prep. We're not gonna add a thing on Monday, not one
No,
thing.
no, are we talking about the agenda deadline or the internal deadline?
The internal deadline, if it is on Friday before the Thursday that we send out the agenda, I should have everything by Friday from department heads, and nothing is to be submitted on Monday through Thursday of the board agenda prep week. And therefore, we will be able to get everything out to you
So
guys.
moving that deadline will help you meet your
Yes,
deadline. of
because right
Thursday.
now, when we get things late, Monday through Thursday, invoices, agenda items, we're having to stay and add all those and
Okay.
fix everything.
So I get it. That's why this is important to you.
Yes.
Moving this deadline will help you meet the Thursday deadline.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Whatever helps you meet the Thursday deadline, because things trickle in and trickle in and trickle in, and it's hard to keep all of this. These folks got a lot to read and they got other things that need to be doing
I
too.
appreciate that very much.
Okay,
Question.
yes, ma'am.
Since we have some department heads here, William and Chris, can you tell me how this will affect your meeting the deadline? The internal changing.
The biggest thing would be some sort of emergency that comes up the last week, which, can't really help, but invoices might not come in until that next week. But whatever the deadline is, we'll just let the people know that it'll be paid on that following board meeting, not that one. We try to work with our people to get invoiced sooner. Most of our people invoice as soon as we get stuff, but there are some contractors that wait till after the first or something, so.
Hillman
It's
is
not
a
that
prime
big,
example.
it's not that big of a deal.
Hillman is a prime example. It always comes in around the 7th of the month. So we make a concession to put that on
Yeah.
because we don't want them to get their gas cards turned off at the pump.
Fuelman's weird, so they, very frustrating, can't pull an invoice. They will invoice you second or the first Monday of the month. So here's the problem. If the first day of the month is a Tuesday,
Right.
then the second, the next,
So
it, That's,
And I'm not speaking about emergencies, we are absolutely willing to
Yeah,
work with departments.
Yeah, I mean, normal
on any
stuff, this
emergency.
doesn't change.
Somebody takes out a traffic signal, we're gonna get the thing
Yeah,
fixed regardless
This
of
doesn't
that.
change anything we do.
But
the only thing that'll affect in my department, the P and Z meeting will be 3 days before the deadline. So we just have to, the items itself will already be prepared. That's easy. It's just we have to make sure we get the minutes submitted, proofread, any corrections made to them on time. That would be all.
guys, get those minutes.
I have faith we can do it.
Okay. All right. I'll move the motion then, or the proposal is to move the internal deadline
To the Friday before the Thursday,
to the Friday before the Thursday
that
deadline.
we send out the agendas.
All right, there a motion. Mr. Slay made the motion, Mr. Powell seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 9E.
Yes, and we don't have to go into much depth on this. I just wanted to make the board aware that we are starting to come on the last 6 months of end of term. There's a lot of items that we need to start thinking about, like contracts, policies and procedures that need revising. So if y'all can start looking at some that you may want to bring forth or you may want to revise or amend ahead of election season, it would be the time to do that now. And we'll be doing an internal review of our contracts, our rental agreements, that type of thing, over the next month or so. Scott and I, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be attending a mandatory elections training on Thursday with the Clerks Association. So we are starting upon election season, and I will share information on qualification stuff and Secretary of State, co-worker training, all of that. But there's some items that we're going to need to think about, like municipal election commissioner appointments, executive party. I don't know how that typically works, but sometimes there are party executive committees that have to be appointed, and we'll look at some of that with legal. And then securing poll workers, we do have an elections budget. I want to say that's about 20,000, 20 or 25,000. So those things are going to be coming up over the next few months.
All right, let's go to item 9F. You want authorization to publish budget amendment that we made in December?
Yes.
Is there a motion? Mr. Slay made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Williams seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Hall, you have the floor. Item 10A.
Just a moment. Right?
You submitted a memo for your general update. You have anything you want to add to that?
No, sir, no additions to that.
Any questions of Mr. Hall regarding his general update? All right, Mr. Hall, let's move to 10B.
Okay, this is a rezone request from Rand's LLC for a strip of property located on Catlett Road. It is right up against our city limits, our north limits on Catlett Road on the west side of the road. They are seeking currently to rezone from R1 to R2, looking for future neighborhood development, of course, wanting to go from a minimum lot size of 2 acres to approximately 1/4 of an acre. So that way they can make a more houses in the same area, essentially. There is another property specific right there next door to it to the north that's across in the county. They're also rezoning it with the county as well. So it can be kind of confusing as to which property we're dealing with in that area. They do make the petition on behalf that it is a change of character in the neighborhood with the developing subdivisions and such up and down Catlett and then in the area. The Planning and Zoning Board did review everything. It did pass for recommendation, but it passed with a 6-1. There was one opposition to it, and the main opposition heard during the public hearing section was lack of infrastructure, concerns about traffic and such there on Catlett specifically.
All right, and you guys had the public hearing, all the notices were properly published and everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the question is whether or not this board wants to approve the rezoning from R1 to R2. Okay, any questions? Yes, Ms. Williams.
What, William, how many individuals were here that either asked questions, made statements, or expressed, non-support of this at the planning and zoning meeting?
At the P and Z meeting, we had two ladies that were present, same household, that were opposed to it. They live across the road. Do not recall their exact address, but their opposition was not necessarily because it was going to be a neighborhood, but they were concerned about the traffic volume and the traffic they currently see.
Did one lady say that, there are times where if she can see or has a visual of Catlett Road, there are times where traffic is backed up going southbound to where she can visually see it, and that would be Stillhouse Creek area, I think.
I believe she did.
And, you know, that, she did express that. Those are the type of things that would come into play when you're approving a development. This is the question of a rezoning. I mean, it's a rezoning with a conceptual purpose, for sure, because they're talking about a residential neighborhood there, but you know, when you're not granting density or anything by rezoning it, you know, you'd be making a finding that there's a change in character of the neighborhood that justifies changing it, and there's a public need. The petitioner did argue that the public need was because there is a public need for this level of housing in the city, and that when this land was under the county, it's undergone a number of rezonings towards this, but you're not necessarily bound by that. It was just offered as proof to show changing character over the course of years. But she did bring up traffic without a doubt. That was something she brought up.
There's no doubt, traffic getting worse. I looked at the traffic study and how much is going to increase it, but I talked to Mr. Hall about this today, and I know we're not taking action on the site plan and I guess the subdivision plan and all that, but I felt like we need to give these people some kind of guidance as to what we're going to be requiring. You know, the city doesn't have a minimum square footage requirement as far as the home is concerned. You know, personally, I think we're probably looking at 1,800, 2,000 square feet. I rode over and rode through, was it Lewis Farms, the adjoining subdivision that's going in, the two subdivisions across the street. I don't know what the square footage on those homes are, but it's probably in that 1,800 to 2,000 square foot range. So I think we're probably, and this is my personal opinion, we're probably looking at a minimum square footage in that subdivision of probably 2,000 square feet. Now, one other thing that came up when I was talking to Mr. Hall is I asked him specifically what City of Madison's requirements were. And I don't know if you found out exactly, but it was 2,200 square feet. But there was a 3-car minimum garage requirement, which I was not aware of. But another thing, that garage cannot face the street. It has to be side entrance or a rear entrance. So that's, I think, something else we would probably be looking at in that subdivision. I don't know if there's anybody here that's involved in that subdivision, but just personally speaking, as one board member, I think those are the kind of requirements I would be looking for on those houses.
All right, the question here is whether you guys want to approve the rezoning from R1 to R2. Any more discussion on that question?
Sure.
Mr. Powell.
Yes, sir. So you don't mind me addressing you guys. Why R1 and not, or why get R2 and not R1? When you look at like Twin Cedars, Germantown subdivision, you got Amazon coming in. I mean, I know a friend of mine's interviewing with those guys, and it's 100,000 plus paying job. So I mean, why not a nice big neighborhood? That it's actually maybe a farm. I mean, my mother-in-law's got a farm. We got a bunch of horses. They got to do it every morning to deal with it. I read through Lewis Farms, and there's nothing about a farm around Lewis Farms, other than the name. So I guess my question is, why can we not do R1 and have, 2-acre lots with a nice house on there?
William, let this gentleman have the podium so he can address Mr. Powell's question. Sir, your name?
Excuse me, my name is Scott Shoemaker. And I'm here representing the homeowners and Rands, which is the development company, that we have. So I have some comments here if you want me to go over with you, but I can address questions as well. From a standpoint of between R1 to R2, first of all, overall cost. From a standpoint, the acreage there doesn't yield many lots. And the infrastructure that you'd have to put in for an R1 dealing with the power, water, and sewer, it just makes it to where it's not an affordable type of lot purchase in order to facilitate a house of that size. That's essentially the biggest thing. Establishing it to an R2 is going from the 2 acre or so to a lot that's 10,600 square feet as far as that goes. The other part with the farms part, it was a way for us to honor the landowners when we bought it. When we said we would love the name of Lewis Farms and they loved it. So that's why.
Awesome. I'm gonna pass through this.
Any other questions of Mr. Schuman?
I've got one more.
Yes, sir.
Lewis Farms, I know the minimum size on the R2 is 10.5, 10.6 or whatever. What's the minimum square footage in Lewis Farms houses?
I believe it's 1,800.
On a 2,000 square foot house, can you put 3 houses to an acre? But you can't put 4 houses to an acre on a 2,000 square foot house.
I can't recall what that math is, and I'm not deferring that. I don't know from a standpoint. The lot sizes on average in Lewis Farms are roughly 75 feet wide by maybe 140 feet deep. Setback is 30 feet on the front, 25 on the rear, and 10 on the sides. I do know that. Of course, that's on the plat.
All right, any other?
As far as the property that's within the city that's adjacent to that, this consists zoned R1 as well.
Well, I'd love to kind of go over the application with you, if that's okay, just to kind of explain some of our parts of that, if that's okay. Again, we're coming from, we did develop Lewis Farms. And so I've got a lot of attachments to our application that I'd love to kind of go over that with you as far as that stuff goes, if that's okay. The reason it was zoned, I'm gonna just read it here. The reason this property was given an R1 zoning from an A1 zoning in the first place was explained by Scott Weeks at a previous Board of Supervisors meeting. He stated that the reason this property had been rezoned from agriculture to residential was due to a change in the law in Mississippi for agriculture property. He explained that this changed this property zoning as part of the comprehensive update, taking it to the least restrictive residential zoning because the area is predominantly residential. He further explained that it would be up to the owner of the property to seek to rezone the type of residential zone they wanted. And as y'all addressed earlier, talked about rezoning and the qualifications is that there was a mistake in the original zoning or an error or a clerical error or change in character of the neighborhood and a public need. So if you look at your attachments there, if you'll go to attachment F and attachment E, that's where it displays the change in character of the neighborhood. I've got a timeline there for you just to kind of see where it is. In November of 2019, the comprehensive plan was approved. December of 19, 28 acres was rezoned to R2. August of 2020, 17 acres was rezoned to R2. There it is right there. You can slide back up.
He's talking about the Board of Supervisors.
That's right.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm sorry. Excuse me. In March of 21, 34 acres was rezoned. And January of 2023, 9 acres were rezoned. The next slide after that is the board minutes of the Board of Supervisors when they approved that. If you slide back up, sorry, this is just the way it kind of goes with the application, you'll see a map. And that map will show you, and it'll show you the A's and the B's. There's the map there on what as far as zoning goes. As you can see that A, which is the timeline, B, C, and D of the timeline. That's what corresponds with the timeline of the changing character of the neighborhood since the comprehensive plan was approved. And that was approved in November of 2019, and there's been 4 rezoning since that time. The other part of rezoning is a public need. So if you would slide down, and it's attachment H, what I wanted you guys to see was a specific area, which is where we're talking about. And if you look at this, there it is right there. If you can slide right back up a little bit. So this talks about absorption rates, sold listings, comparing them to 2023 to 2024. General rule, 5 to 6 months of inventory is considered normal. If you look here at our graph that we've gotten, and this was taken from MLS, it's less than 2 months to give you a current state of the market, the current active listings that you can see on the far right side that is highlighted in yellow, just to give you what's going on today. We only have 6 listings out there. This is from January 1 to September 30th. The reason for the date disconnect is because you have to submit to you guys by October 1. So I wanted to give you the most accurate information up to the submittal date. And so that's what we have here.
Mr. Shoemaker, did he answer your question?
Yes, sir, to a certain extent. So I'm gonna backtrack on something real quick, and then we're gonna come back to that. We'll just, since you have this up, we'll talk about it real quick. So I know I live in Ridgefield. There's 3 or 4 houses for sale in there, and I don't see Ridgefield listed on there at all. And I see several neighborhoods listed that are actually in the county, rather than that are in the city. I appreciate everything that the county's done, before it became a city. We became a city, been working on it probably 20 or 30 years, and there's a reason for that. It's because there are some things that the citizens that live within the city parameters didn't necessarily agree with what the county was doing at times. Some of it was variances, was changing of maybe R1 to R2, and things shouldn't have been done. I see on here that our representative, our supervisor, Trey Baxter, voted no on the rezoning from A1 to R1 or R1 R2, whatever it is, right, or A1 to R2. So the guy that is over this area disagreed with all the other supervisors. Obviously, he was overridden because it was 4-1 vote. But I guess my point is that I'm fortunate that I'm not beholden to anybody except for the citizens of Gluckstadt. I'm not beholden to any developers. I'm not beholden to gas station people, to anyone other than, like I said, my citizens that live in Gluckstadt. I guess that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
So any other questions of Mr. Shoemaker?
Yep, I have some questions.
Ms. Williams?
Hey, Scott, thanks for being here. It's a long evening.
Thank you.
Are you guys contingent on the parcel or area? Do you own it already?
It's contingent. We wanted to come through for rezoning first.
Okay, why does that, this is several questions that I'm talking about, it's all over the place. Why does that chart that Mr. Powell just referenced not include the homes that are in the city of Gluckstadt already?
That's a great question. The reason these subdivisions were picked is because it is in the immediate area of the property. That's what I wanted to display and show, is that we were trying to hit the areas right here in this area, not necessarily down Gluckstadt Road or anything like that. I was trying to hit right here in this area where this property is located at.
Okay. Are you aware that if you pull a realtor.com search today, that there's around 20 properties for sale in the city, residential? Did you know that?
What I'm going off of is what I had from MLS.
In September.
In this right here.
Okay. Yeah. Today. So
I did not, due to the fact of I was trying to be consistent with what I submitted to y'all. I haven't gone to anything because this is what I wanted to bring to you.
Okay, well, just so you know, for public record, I also looked at Realtor.com today, and there's this neat little tool where you can draw a map. And you can home in and focus on area. Just within our city limits, I got around 20 listed properties ranging at all purchase prices. Outside our city limits, to circle clear up to Lake Caroline, back to the interstate, it was a little shy of 300 homes for sale. So I just want the board to publicly know that. Your Mr. Kaiser's memo here, and I understand he's here, and I may have a question for him. But is it true, Mr. Scott, that your full build out, if you're allowed to do all of this over the next several years, is 222 homes?
If that's what that shows it right there, yes. Over the course of several years, that's
Okay, so board, I'd like for y'all to realize that that's that's bigger than Ridgefield subdivision. More parcels.
And in the traffic report you're referring to, it does show the 3 improvements that are coming.
Right, and I'm going there. Thank you for that. For the record, and Mr. Scott, anyone else that's interested, page 244 references widening of Catlett Road to a 5-lane road south to Gluckstadt Road. I called and spoke to Tim Bryan today of the county. That would be a county funded project on this 10-year plan potentially they've been discussing in their funding. That is not an accurate statement. So I don't know where anybody got that, but per Tim Bryan, that's not true. Now the intersection at Sterling Road Extension and Catlett and then Gluckstadt Road and Bozeman will be improved over the next whatever couple of years. But that widening of 5 lanes of Catlett is not true. So just for the record, somebody needs to get with Tim on their information being right. So if there's 200 plus houses for sale in the extended perimeter and at least 20 in our city limits, why is there a public need for another house?
The data shows it on MLS, which I'm nothing against Realtor.com, but I'm going to go off of the MLS data that I received and looked up and all of that stuff. And then again, we're also talking about today, over the course of years to come, we're not talking about the public need to sell a house today, right now. It's going to take time to develop this neighborhood. And as that goes, that's where that public need will continue to increase due to the fact that the housing inventory is not there.
And that's your opinion or that's fact?
That is definitely my opinion based on the facts that I got from MLS. That is correct. And also dealing with that, from what my understanding is, rezoning is clerical error, changing character of the neighborhood, or a public need. I don't see where traffic is a requirement for the rezoning process. But I do know that public need is and the changing character is.
Okay, let's talk about traffic. And Mr. Kaiser, I understand you're here. Scott, if you don't mind,
Sure,
you can have
absolutely,
Mr.
yes.
Kaiser's podium a moment. Mayor, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Kaiser, hello. According to the analyses and cover letter information you submitted as part of this correspondence, your date on it's November 19 of your memo. Well, I missed your memo. Your counts show dated 10/23, which was a Wednesday. So is that factually the day that you participated in getting counts?
The intersections were recorded on that day, and then the video was then processed after that fact. So yes, it was on that.
Okay. And for the record, those counts are total over 3,000 units blowing through 2 intersections between 6 a.m. and 8:45 a.m. That's called a peak time. And plus 3,300 plus 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. another peak time. Mr. Kaiser, explain to me what an F means in analysis summary, a CAS, capacity analysis. What does an F mean?
There's delay values that are identified by the Highway Capacity Manual. And much like letter grades in school, with A being doing well and F doing very poorly, failing, that the delays that A, and I don't know the range off the top of my head, but the level of service is based on the amount of delay per vehicle. And so A has very little delay and F has a lot of delay and is over capacity.
Okay, so existing traffic, table 4, notes Fs at, and D for Catlett, Bozeman Road area, just for the record in this correspondence. Mr. Kaiser, is a traffic analysis different than a traffic study?
No.
Not at all.
It depends on where you are. There are some jurisdictions that use different names for different types of studies, but this is a traffic study, it's a traffic analysis. It is semantics as far as that's concerned.
All right.
And if I could address what you stated earlier about the 5 laning.
Yeah, where'd you get that information from?
Well, and what the report says is that geometric improvements, including a traffic signal at the intersection of Strickland Extension, Catlett Road, and a 5-lane cross-section on Catlett Road. And these are the intersection results. That the intersections are typically where your delays occur and where your restrictions occur. And so my understanding from talking to Tim Bryan with the county is that they are planning to improve Stribling Road, Catlett Road, from Stribling to Stribling Road Extension, signalizing the intersection of Stribling Extension at Catlett Road, and then also widening the intersection at Bozeman and Catlett Road.
All right, those won't be 5 lanes. None of them will be 5 lanes.
That's not the understanding that I have in
I
what the
talked to him today and
recommendations
he
are.
said 3 lanes. He said 3 lanes today. He has no knowledge of anything 5 lane.
Okay.
I think y'all may be talking around the issue. The intersection itself is going to be 5 lanes. The road, Catlett Road further north will not be 5 lanes.
No expansion whatsoever.
Okay,
Until you get to the next intersection.
right, so, but whatever it is, we understand, at this point. Any other questions at all of Mr. Kaiser, comments to be made?
Thank you.
Mr. Powell?
Yes, sir, for Mr. Shoemaker. I just
Mr.
have a couple more
Shoemaker.
questions real quick. I'm sorry. You know what the time frame for you guys finishing Lewis Farms is? For building up?
Right offhand, I'm 4 years, 5 years? I don't know.
I know Judge, there's not a lot of houses or anything yet, so I mean, obviously you still got ways to go.
The section we're in right now, which is part 1, is 38 months. And I just don't, I'd love to answer your question, I just don't know for sure.
How many
It's
lots?
not in a year's time or something.
How many lots are gonna be in Lewis Farms?
Is that the number for the total of Lewis Farms and the other one altogether?
222 is referenced in Mr. Kaiser's letter.
Okay, so that would be the current Lewis Farms that's being built in now and the additional property that we're seeking to rezone.
What's been approved now and is being built now is how many lots?
38, and the next section is 40 something that we're working on.
So about 80.
70 or 80, but I don't know that for a fact to tell you for sure, unfortunately. I don't know.
Well, if this was approved and you guys did purchase this property, what would your time frame be for the new property being built?
We would build in Lewis Farms and eventually get to this property. So I don't know a specific timeline, but it would. It's a great question. It would essentially depend upon us building and developing Lewis Farms, and if we continue to move on from the backside of Lewis Farms.
All right, last question, I'll leave it on.
Sure, no, I'm glad to answer.
And so I just want to confirm, you guys have HOAs for Lewis Farms?
We do not. There will be one, but we do not have one now.
Okay. No, will you guys allow rentals?
that's not the plan. We don't have it, I think in our covenants, it says no rentals. But we can reference that in the covenants, but I believe it's no rentals in the subdivision.
Thank you for your time.
May I address
Yes,
one
sir.
thing?
Yes, sir. Yes,
When you were talking about Mr. Baxter, I just wanted to look back at his votes, and it was 4 different times of the voting that I talked about. The first 2, he was nay, but the final 2, he was yay. So just,
Yes, sir.
just because I just wanted to address that.
Who else I renewed, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, just, and it's in the attachment.
I apologize. I know you feel like you played 20 questions there, but I do have one more question.
We're here to answer questions. We want to contribute to Gluckstadt, and we want to build houses.
Let's assume the board approves changing it to R2. You come back with your, I guess, subdivision plan. You say, well, we want 3,000 square foot minimum homes there. That might not be a fair question, but is that something you would entertain, or is that just completely no?
We haven't gotten as far as minimum minimum subdivision requirements yet. If Lewis Farms, I'm just guessing is 18, it's right there at that. 3,000, it's not something we would consider at this point in time. You referred about some garages and stuff like that. I hate to limit some house architecture and styles, because 20 years ago, the courtyard front might not have been very popular, and it is today. By limiting that, it really could restrict home builders in the future on what to build. And I'd hate to have that to where courtyard houses are not in style. I mean, Ridgefield, we're very familiar with Ridgefield, and we have courtyard houses there. We have garages in the back, and we have front entry. Some lots facilitate a front entry or a front loading lot. There's things to do to facilitate that in a better way, but nevertheless, I'd hate to limit a lot to the type of home you can build on it, as far as the architecture of that. In the same, I kind of hate to require the same brick throughout a neighborhood, because a manufacturer might quit creating that brick, and then you're in a pickle. So that would be my concern about what you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
But we'd love to develop it. We'd love to contribute to it. We have a history in this area, and we've got a pretty good history of having some good quality homeowners and good quality neighborhoods. We'd love to continue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shoemake.
Thank you for your time.
All right, before the board is a consideration for the application of rezoning this parcel of land from R1 to R2. Is there a motion to approve that rezoning? All right, having heard no motion, that matter fails. Item 10C.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, Mayor, but what you've got presented to you is an ordinance rezoning if you choose to adopt the recommendation of the zoning board, and a resolution denying the rezoning if you don't.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution denying the requested rezoning?
Motion.
Ms. Williams made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Powell seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Mr. Scanlon, thank you, sir, for keeping me on the straight and narrow.
Yes, sir.
All right, item 10C, consideration for the application for conditional use for Puckett Machinery. And Mr. Puckett, is see him sitting out there very patiently waiting. You caught the short end of a stick of a long agenda, Mr. Puckett. But, Mr. Hall?
In short, Puckett Machinery wants to become our neighbor. He has been working with Mr. Stephen and Camper Corral. They are looking to purchase the property here just to our south. They need more room, even more room than what we previously just approved for a site plan for them to expand. They're looking to take the existing large building, renovate it to make it better suited for their offices and sales floor. There is a preliminary site plan included. We did discuss with them, and they were very gracious. We said, we have a wild concept for maybe a frontage road existing one day. And they were more than willing to put building placement in such a way that that would work easily for us to work around in the future. Again, their site plan they submitted is still just a concept. They can modify that as needed, for the site plan itself. That will be a totally separate approval. But they are coming before us for conditional use due to, heavy machine sales and service. And, we did publish and we did not have any feedback from citizens on it. And the P and Z board did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the conditional use.
All right, any questions or comments about Puckett Machinery's request for conditional use? All right, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
This may not be the setting, I guess between William and.
John.
What's your name? John. Sorry. The only, and I support this, Mr. Puckett, it's great to see you, I've heard a lot of good things about you. The only thing that caught my attention was, in the future, when this all comes to fruition and you can hang your flag and get your mail there and all that, would it be possible to have a more solid fence, at least on the code side? The code side of the property. The reason is we have the nice car dealership back there, and to kind of block the view of huge equipment just in that section there. And that may be really nitpicky, but I use those folks for services, and when you come out of there, it's just a question.
When you choose to grant a conditional use, you have the discretion to add conditions in addition to those that are already enumerated inside your zoning ordinance. So if you wanted to grant this conditional use with an additional condition, you'll notice that the order granting, you've got a proposed order granting conditional use and a proposed resolution denying it. And the proposed order has got a blank in there. So if you said we want to grant it, we find they meet all these conditions, plus we're going to put one more condition on them, such as the one Ms. Williams just mentioned. That's allowable if the board so chooses.
Okay, and would you entertain that? I want to be fair to you and.
Mr. Puckett, why don't you come to the podium and make sure you understand the question, because I don't.
I think I understand the question. I guess I don't want to be invasive. Entertain for sure. Commit to, I don't feel comfortable sitting here tonight, committing to it, because I don't, kind of call unprepared.
Yeah, I know you didn't expect that at all.
And don't know what that would entail, what a solid fence might be, what that might cost, what might be involved in that. I'm not opposed to, exploring that.
All right, let me go back to William then. We have a
Thank you, Mr. Puckett.
Fence, some kind of fence ordinance, something adopted and some
Correct.
commercial has to do X.
Cyclone fences, chain link fences
Yeah.
would be by board permission only. So we would be looking at an improved fence such as a privacy fence or wrought iron fence.
Okay.
Would be our minimum
That's
unless
what it was.
approved by the board.
Okay. Well, it's not I still support your request, but it's just hit me today, looking back over notes. I don't know how the other board members feel about that, but that would just be a visual, as coming out through the cul-de-sac and turning around, there wasn't the Puckett Machinery right there all visible, because your visibility now is going to be interstate big time. Right. Yay. It's just a question. I don't know how the board members feel about it.
All right, so before the board is the application for the conditional use. Do you want to make a motion to require additional requirements in paragraph 10 of the proposed order, or do you want to just take it as is?
No, the motion will be as is, and I appreciate your discussion. Just know that that's on my mind.
Okay, is there a motion then to approve the conditional use?
Make a motion, sir.
All right, Mr. Slade made the motion, Mr. Powell seconded, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Puckett, you're third or fourth generation?
I'm third generation.
Third generation.
I got a college student and a senior in high school that hopefully will be the fourth generation.
Awesome.
Oh, no.
We look forward to a larger presence of Puckett machinery in the city. So thank you for the investment in our community. Okay, item 10D.
Bear Creek Water, they're looking to move off Church Road, actually very close to where Puckett is now, over by the railroad track, next door to Steel Technologies. There was some minor discussion about drainage because on the site plan, drainage, you don't see a detention pond. Well, that land is so flat, you can't really put a pond in unless you build the whole thing up 4 feet and then dig back down. So instead, Ron McMaster from McMaster Engineering, they were able to work with the swells and everything to make them into detention ponds on site on the east end of that property. That's why everything's moved to the west side. In this layout, the front building up near church will be the public access building. Pay your bill, set up your accounts there. There will be a black wrought iron fence to separate the rear buildings, which is where their workshops, work bays, and storage bays will be. Very similar to what they have now, just spread out more. And there is a little strip in between the center there for a proposed future expansion, where Mr. Williamson said if they need additional office space in the future, it's already planned in, including with the drainage. So that in the future won't be a flooding problem. P&Z board reviewed everything and did give unanimous approval for recommendation.
All right, any questions about the Bear Creek Water Site Plan? Is there a motion for approval of the Bear Creek Water Site Plan?
Make the motion, sir.
I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Page seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, thanks. Item number 11.
Bradshaw Ridge has requested the city to take over the street lighting for the neighborhood. They're looking to add 9 lights and an additional $282 a month, roughly $3,384 a year. They do have other meters that are shown on the bills. We will not be taking those over. These will strictly be the 9 street lights.
Okay, we've done this numerous subdivisions in the city. Is there a motion to approve the Bradshaw Street lighting request?
Motion.
Ms. Bates made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Slade seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, item 11B.
Recently we purchased a skid steer, for public works. It's been a great benefit to us. We're looking to add 2 more attachments to increase the capabilities of it. One being a broom, sweeper broom, wire broom to clean streets off, help the projects clean up afterwards, and the Land Pride grapple, which will give us not only a grapple for our tractor, but a grapple for the skid steer to help with storm cleanup and or limb pile pickups.
This equipment in the budget?
This is, it will come out of our heavy equipment.
Davini's got the lowest quote, $14,100.
Yes, sir.
Any questions of Mr. Butler? Is there a motion to approve the purchase of these 2 items at the cost of $14,100 from Davini as the lowest bidder? Move. Mr. Slade made the motion. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Powell seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Mr. Butler.
A question, have we picked up the, I guess, electric tab for all the subdivisions now in the city? You gotta get pretty close.
Yeah, get close. I don't think we have Stone Creek, Dixon Run. There's a few of them that we give us.
They were made aware of it in the past. They just haven't got us their bills.
They like.
So we'd like to remind us.
All right, item 12, Chief.
Good evening, y'all. My general update is, we had, since last board meeting, we broke 343 tickets. We made 21 arrests, 2 DUIs. We worked 25 accidents. As of today, we've started 193 warrants. And, as far as the building goes, we're cooking with oil, or however you say that. Working with light stuff out front. Looking good. The inside, they're still touching up on a few little things. We got dispatch room getting set up good, so building's looking great. If anybody wants a tour, let me know. Come by, we'll give you a full tour. That's my update. Like I was saying earlier,
Chief Hale.
Yes, sir.
Is there any update on the signage over up?
I can update you on that. The requests have been made. The internal signage is imminent.
That should be, no later than December 20th.
The external signage, we don't have a timetable yet. I met with, Mr. Marsh of Benchmark Construction earlier this week. Got an update on that, and I frankly failed to update all of you guys. I intended to. The external signage, we don't have a date yet. Okay.
And, keys will get in March, and, rest of our cameras will be installed next week, and you should be able to get everyone get a scan card, and we can all open and shut that gate outside. So other than that, we've pretty much got everything moved in, but evidence and our armory. We're waiting on shelving for that. Once that gets in there, we're gonna be, I won't say cooking, but we'll be good.
There's no way.
Any other questions?
Yeah, there's no way you can get this March deadline sooner, or if there could be a little more.
He said
aggressive on that?
due to backups in the factories and all that, there was.
What are we talking about?
Their
The actual keys to the building will be here till March. Now, we have a couple of master keys and we have all that. We're able to lock the doors and we're able to pass along keys to each shift supervisor. But we will be able to get access to a scan card or a key fob once they put all the cameras. There's 5 cameras up to install. And then they'll come train us on that and we'll have access.
The other item that I failed to update you guys on, in addition to the exterior signage, and as it was explained to me, the contractor Benchmark cannot make the orders for the signage until they got particular information from the architect. The architect did not provide the contractor with the information until August the 5th, which has created a delay in getting the exterior signage built. The other item is the backup generator. And the backup generator is here, but there's a relay switch, transfer switch that has to be specially built and created for our purpose. And that's the delay in installing that backup generator. But other than those 2 big things, or 3 things, the key issues, the exterior generator or standby generator and the signage.
And as far as dispatch goes, the thing that's holding us up on that is what's called PSAP, Public Safety Access Point, where you actually call 911. We're at the mercy of AT&T for that. They were on strike a while back, so they're behind, so we're at the mercy of them when it comes to that.
We faced that issue at the very beginning of the city being formed.
AT&T.
Yeah.
But then miraculously, 3 days later, it was done.
Yeah. So we're getting there.
Is that generator diesel?
All right, you want approval to auction 3 vehicles?
Yes, sir. We have that Lexus out there that we thought we'd be able to use as a vehicle for us for undercover and all that. But once we realized how much it was going to actually cost, you fix it up and all that, it wasn't worth the.
A court has forfeited that Lexus vehicle to us?
Yes, we've been signed over to us. And we own it.
So the court approved that?
Yes, sir.
We're good with that?
Yes, sir.
We're not selling somebody else's car?
Nope. And the 2 Tahoes, or 2019 Tahoes that have.
The Lexus was taken.
It was on a traffic stop
In the city?
Yes, sir.
And the judge issued an order for it?
Yes, sir. And actually, the kid that's driving it, his family signed it over to us as part of some plan, a deal they worked out, so.
Sorry. When did this happen? When did it get forfeited? And now we own it, it's a city asset.
I'll have to get that. I don't know the exact date.
Was that circuit court judge chief who did that?
Like I said, I'll have to get all that. Okay.
Because technically it's a city asset now that we own it, then it has to be properly surplused off the city asset. And there's some procedures here that need to be met, if I'm not wrong.
If it belongs to the city, I would want a finding that, it's cease to be used for municipal purposes and that you're surplus and authorized them to be, auctioned, that'd be fine. I wasn't aware of the forfeiture proceedings, unless was it part of the criminal or the judge just, or did y'all do a civil forfeiture proceeding? Okay, so it's kind of like forfeiting it as a point, as a part of that.
Yeah, it was done through the DA's office.
Did you prosecute this?
Felony.
No,
So
it was
that
done through
goes
the
up to
DA's
the
office.
circuit court.
Oh, okay.
It was done through the circuit court and the DA's office.
Were both vehicles, are all three vehicles like that?
No, the Tahoes are actually city-owned police cars.
Okay, so you need to make a determination on those that are being seized for municipal purposes. And, I mean, or y'all do, rather.
That's what we're doing, yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure we weren't selling somebody a car that we didn't own. No.
Yeah, that motion.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the auction of these three vehicles, finding that these assets are no longer of use to the city? Slay made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Howell, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you want to post the job description and advertise for dispatch position.
Yes, sir. We have got our dispatch supervisor. Now we're ready to start looking for 4 dispatchers. Hopefully we can get 4. We had budgeted for them to start in January, so now we're getting ready to, we've been, Miss Kristen's been looking through resumes and stuff, so we're getting ready to try to hire 4 dispatchers.
So you want to advertise for dispatchers?
Yes, sir.
Full-time position?
Yes, sir.
Salary of $40,000 plus benefits?
Yes.
And you're gonna hire 4?
We're gonna hire 4. Yes, sir.
Right now, all you want is approval to advertise for that position?
Yes.
All right, there a motion to post the job description for the dispatchers?
Motion.
Taylor made the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Spade seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and anybody sign public comment?
Yes, sir.
Before we get there, Mayor, for the purposes of keeping the minutes, we just wanted to double check that we have the motion in a second, on not the previous motion, but the one before that.
Which one?
Auctioning the vehicles.
Slade made the motion, Powell second.
But do we need a finding in
With the
our?
finding that they are not of municipal use
Yeah.
and zero value
Yeah,
to the
that-
city.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, that-
Thank you.
I gotta ask you, but Mr. Hale, you said already taking dispatcher applications?
No, I said resumes. We got resumes.
Or resumes, yeah.
We got resumes when we were looking for a dispatch supervisor, so we've gone back with, some of the ones that we got.
Okay.
And
Lori.
we're going back and contacting them and see if they're interested in just being a dispatch.
All right, guys, we need to go into executive session, so we first need to go into closed session to determine the specific needs for executive session. Is there a motion for us to enter into closed session?
Make the motion, sir.
Powell made the motion, is there a second? Mr. Spade seconded, all in favor?
All right.
All right, we're in closed session. Are we good to go, or y'all want to take a break? All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.